Okay, look, I grew up in a time when Walter Cronkite delivered the evening news on CBS. Over at NBC, there was the team of Chet Huntley and David Brinkley. Later, John Chancellor. If you remember those folks, you're old. Some people are out there in the audience going, I ain't old, I just remember. ABC had Howard K. Smith. Now, I don't recall ever having a clue what their political leanings were. In fact, long after Cronkite's retirement, we found out he was actually a flaming liberal. But he kept his personal views to himself, and he delivered the news in a way that never signaled the kind of bias that we regularly see with modern news anchors. Same with newspapers. I can remember when people trusted the New York Times as the paper of record. Obviously, that was a long time ago. And while newspapers had editorial content, there was a great big wall between the editorial and news sections of the papers. Not anymore. While Donald Trump might be trying to build a wall, the would-be journalists of today are tearing down those walls so that their entire operation is a commentary or editorial machine. And the real losers are you, the American people. News people hate it when President Trump calls them out as fake news or labels some of them enemies of the people. Look, we really need a free press. It's protected in the First Amendment as one of the bedrocks of our freedom. It's historically been called the esteemed fourth estate, meaning that when it comes to the functions of holding the government accountable and speaks truth to power, it's the closest thing to a fourth branch of government. That's to help keep balance within the system of separation of powers. But increasingly and exponentially, with the explosion of social media, that wall separating opinion from factual news has disappeared like a fog on a 100-degree bright sunny day. And what has disappeared is the public's trust of the traditional media to give them facts. Journalism is all but dead. Well, except for a few remaining practitioners, like our first guest tonight, Cheryl Atkinson, or Laura Logan, both of whom were once at CBS. They've had some pretty harsh things to say about the politicization and weaponization of journalism as a sharp tool of ideological warfare instead of just simply being a source of raw facts and information. Now, I admit, I speak of this often because we need to be reminded that Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are not news sources, and they're not reliable. And by the way, neither is a Google search, because it won't lead to the most important aspects of a story. These are all private, for-profit companies who are not just there to turn a buck, they're trying to turn minds toward the most liberal views of policy and politics possible. And that means you've got to become your own editor, and you have to ask the most fundamental questions of your news sources. Who is the source of this information? Is it anonymous sources? What's the background? Disregard most of it. Ask this question, is it verified by 2 or more eyewitnesses and not just 2 or more people with the same opinion? Is there a balance of perspective in the story? And is the side being given, who's being skewered, are they given a chance really to respond in a fair way? And are speculations and opinions being stated as if they are facts? By the way, about the only reliable source I trust anymore is my own website for news. Yeah. And the Bible for everything else. Yeah. Be honest with you, anything else, and I just ain't buying without some serious verification and old-fashioned proof. And that's a fact.